Hey everybody, welcome to Teal Tinted Glasses episode 39. We're here. We survived last night without any serious problems, and that's probably a good thing. I know some people didn't survive last night. I see Kevin in the chat. That's good. That makes my spirits high already. With me right now is Hockey Trick.
I am indifferent on Kevin.
Wow, that's harsh. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Kevin. See, here's the thing: is when we're on the show, Kevin and I, we make jokes and we chat, and it's all good and fun. But you hit that end broadcast button, and man, the heat between us is crazy.
Wow, the drama. Eh?
There's so much drama. It's I don't want to get too into it, but he interfered in one of my matches, so I hit him with a chair. And
logical course of events there. Are you guys? So I guess my question's going to be: are you guys on the undercard for WrestleMania?
It is. I believe we are going 12th on the pre-show.
Nice. All right, so let's get down to business. Obviously, this is Teal Tinted Glasses. We're going to talk some Sharks. We're going to talk some other stuff because that is what we do. All right, Jessica, you know what? Jessica, come and bring out with the heat in the chat. Talking about heat. Are you excited that your favorite team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, clinched a playoff spot?
Should I be funny or should I be cocky in my answer?
Surprise me.
Alrighty. Well, Jessica, I don't answer stupid questions because of course I'm excited.
Oh wow. All right. The heat is on.
The heat is on.
All right. So let's bring this down a little bit.
Getting torn apart in the chat.
Oh man, yeah. Vince is just tearing you. See, you guys gotta come. Like, you guys, I know there's a Barracuda game tonight, and I know that's why we're a little bit down in the live viewership. But you guys got to come for the chat, because sometimes the chat is far more entertaining than anything that we do on this show. Not that you shouldn't subscribe or listen to it on the audio after. I'm just saying the chat sometimes is more interesting.
Well, and I mean, who wouldn't want to spend 60 to 90 minutes making fun of me?
That's true. Wow. All right. So I guess we should start with probably the biggest story. Has to do with a guys from Sweden or something. So that Carlson, he picked the puck up and went home. No, yeah. Wait, that wasn't what I'm going with. Although we can talk about that if you want. I don't know what's to. I mean, tragedy obviously for them. So I don't think playing two meaningless games. I mean, I'd rather be with my family too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I definitely think the people on Twitter who were saying, it's his last game and that's symbolic of his, the end of his tenure and all this stuff. Like, I thought that was a very rash conclusion to jump to. But at the same time, it is very curious how he, deviated from where the rest of the team was going to, literally dig the puck out of the back of the net. I mean, if he wanted the puck so bad, like, he could have easily just asked for it or asked for a puck. But, he slithered away to go get it while, in my eyes, he thought nobody was watching. But evidently it's not the case, because there's, 1,000 cameras in an NHL arena that are all hot at any given time.
And, I mean, this could just be his best Chris Pronger impression, right?
Oh, that's very true. I mean,
he's just screwing with the other team.
We haven't ruled out, the possibility that he's going to take the puck and he's going to, dangle it in front of Adam Burrish. We haven't, determined whether that's a thing yet.
Right. Fair enough. Okay. Obviously, the Sedins, though, did announce their retirement. Obviously, like a lot of outgoing, feelings of admiration for the Sedins, which is amazing considering how much crap they've taken throughout their careers from people. Mm-hmm. But I mean, look, they're not wrong. I mean, the Sedins have pretty much, they've put up with a bunch of crap they probably shouldn't have had to put up with. They were, they were a big part of that Vancouver team for a long time and really, handled it. I thought they handled it well. Were always
Like,
professionals.
yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, they put up with a lot of crap, and to stick with the franchise for as long as they have when they weren't very successful on the ice. I mean, it says a lot about the type of people that they are. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that they decided to just call it at this time, because you look at, I mean, both of them are still making an impact offensively. Both are over half a point a game, and I don't know, I thought they had at least one more year in them.
I don't know. I'm curious to see, like, obviously we'll never know the answer to this, but to me, I wonder if there just wasn't a deal in Vancouver for them to come back to.
That's it. That's entirely possible. And I mean, I think, I think there's, I think, I think they're sort of realizing that, they being Vancouver, needs to start playing the young guys and move on from the old guard. But, at the same time, the Sedins, it was very obvious that if they were going to go anywhere else, it would have to be together.
Right.
And, just pure speculation, but maybe the fact that nobody wanted to trade for both of them at the deadline tells me that there's no other teams who are really interested in them together. And I think Kevin makes a good point too. I could definitely see them go back to Moto because, especially with guys who are from Europe, going home doesn't mean retiring. I mean, I remember when Teemu Selanne, quote unquote, retired from the Anaheim Ducks, and there was talks that he was going to play half a season with Jokerit. So, I mean, going home and retiring are two very different things.
Yeah, no, and I think that's another great point, because I think that you see this a lot of times where players will have 1 or 2 good years left in them and they go home.
I do not mean to interrupt you or change the subject, but okay. Sasha Chmelevski just scored.
Hey, there's my guy. I'm excited.
Back to the Sedins. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like, like there's something to be said for going home and playing while you still have something left in the tank too. I think, like, look at the Vancouver's not anywhere close to a Stanley Cup. Are they going to end up on a team together that's a cup contender under the salary cap? That's a tough thing to get, unless if you're going to take basically basement deals. So yeah, I mean, going back to Moto, I mean, we've seen this. Pavel Datsyuk's done it, right? He's gone back home and he's playing right now, played in the Olympics, has some good, has had some stuff left in the tank. And I think that for the Europeans, I mean, you play in the NHL, you make your money, you go for the cup, but I think playing at home is still something that ultimately I think you'd still want to do at some point.
Yeah. And I mean, being across an entire ocean from your family is a huge difference than being, say a 20 or 30-minute drive.
Right. Oh man. So let's get through, because obviously you bring up Chmelevski, and I think that's that is a great segue to our next thing, because we got some recent contract signings. So Chmelevski signed his entry-level contract and is currently on an ATO with the Barracuda. Chmelevski, for those who've forgotten or just don't know, 2017 6th-round pick, 185th overall. Regular season in 68 games played, had 35 goals, 41 assists, 76 points, and 24 penalty minutes, and was a +8 with the Ottawa 67s. In the playoffs, they went up against a very, very good Hamilton Bulldogs team and went out in 5 games, but he still put up a goal and 4 assists and 5 points with 4 penalty minutes. Obviously suited up for the Barracuda tonight because he scored. Woohoo! I'm excited about this. I really like Chmelevski. I was a big fan of this signing the pick when it happened. I think that if you go back and listen to the tape, I was really happy with the later end of the draft. Wasn't so thrilled with the early parts of the draft, but the later parts of the draft for sure. Happy camper. I mean, it's going to be good. I think the reason, the ATO makes a lot of sense is because obviously he's going back to junior. I don't know why they would not send him back to junior at this point. They've got enough guys coming into the Barracuda next year that they don't really need to rush his development, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Is the ATO tells me he is going to go back to his junior team, but also I don't know, and I could be totally wrong about this, but I don't know if he's actually eligible to play in the AHL just because he is only 18.
Right. Yeah. You that's actually a great point as well. Unless he's going to completely. Yeah, I know he'd have to go back to junior because he is. Do not let the name fool you. He is American. He would have to go back to junior.
Yeah, Long Beach native or Huntington Beach native, whatever. Too many beaches.
Too many beaches in California. I mean, that must be a terrible problem for you guys to have.
It is. It's the worst. We
hate the beach.
We hate sunshine and happiness.
Man, that's
us and Kevin and Zach. We've all are on record as saying this. Even going back to the end of last year, this year's Barracuda team is going to be a little rough around the edges, but we've all said next year is going to be really interesting to see. And I mean, Chmielewski or pronunciation. Where's Kevin when you need him? And then Chekovic as well. Like you have these guys. You've got Blickfield hopefully coming in. You've got I'm going to call him Haagen-Dazs because I don't know how to say his name. You've got him coming in. You've got a lot of really good young offensive talent coming in, and I don't want to say that they're going to win the Calder Cup next year, but I think next year's Barracuda will be very comparable to last year's Barracuda, where you just get this huge wave of young, really good talent. And I think they're going to be fun to watch. And I think all of these two guys we're going to talk about, I think they're going to be a big part of it.
I'm still concerned with the blue line next year.
Oh, absolutely. I am too. But maybe the Barracuda will be like the AHL's Dallas Stars.
Right. Glass cannon all the way there.
Oh, absolutely.
Goals in the power play aplenty.
And I mean, they got Bibo locked up, and I feel really good about Antoine Bibo.
Yes.
Kevin says Halbigawatz.
I just call him Argo.
Halbigawatz.
Okay.
I'm gonna
get that right eventually. I'm not gonna ever type it properly though. Like I'm just gonna continue going like har and then just like obscenities and mixing it up. That's what I'm gonna do. This signing was interesting, and I was hoping that I could maybe leach into your KHL brain. Lukas Radil, 1-year deal, played for Spartak. 51 games, 16 goals, 22 assists, 38 points. No points in the playoffs, and his team was swept. I don't, like I said, I don't know the KHL that well. Is this a name that means anything to you? Is this team any good? What can you tell us, if anything?
Well, what I can tell you is that Lukas Radil, I've never heard of him.
Excellent.
And that is because, as I've said before, the team that I follow in the KHL, their games are usually on at 7 a.m. Pacific. So it's incredibly difficult to follow along with just one team, let alone a bunch of other ones. But,
right.
We're trying over here, of course.
Right. I didn't know if they did, if they'd crossed paths with Magnitogorsk at any time. So I just was hoping.
They may have. Honestly, I don't remember, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
I feel like a very notable name though has played for Spartak before. And actually, I'm looking right now. Alex Koklichev, who's a Boston Bruins prospect, is actually was their leading scorer this year. So there's a little NHL connection for you. And I could have sworn there was somebody else notable who was on this team, but maybe I'm wrong there. I'll have to do more research.
All right. I mean, the points don't look amazing to me. To me, this is like, I kind of equate this deal kind of with the Mantis Armalis deal, where you got him for a year, you see what you have, and if you have nothing, you move on. It's, you have really nothing to lose by the signing. So I don't hate it. I'm not super excited by it, but you know that I'm not super excited by it. But at the same time, I'm curious. You know, I
And
mean, let's see what happens. Let's see he comes into camp. Let's see what he does. Probably Barracuda bound.
oh yeah, sure.
And then go from there.
And I mean, you know, not to say that these two are the same players, but I don't really recall. I don't recall a whole lot of, you know, or who the Sharks signed Melker Karlsson. Now Kevin Lacey, who's a noted Skellefteå fan, may tell you otherwise. But you know, in my circles at the time, you know, it wasn't really anybody who, you know, rang any bells or anything like that. And I mean, Melker Karlsson has ended up being somebody interesting to watch. So
He is the answer to every Peter DeBoer question.
he is. Top line Melker Karlsson t-shirts and bumper stickers will soon be available.
Right.
And yeah, so you never really know with these kind of guys. And Kevin saying he may have an out clause. You know, if that's the case, like you said, it's the same with our Malice. If he doesn't pan out, you just let him go. No
Right.
harm, no foul.
No
You
harm,
don't
no
lose
foul.
anything.
Another guy playing for the Barracuda as we record is Ivan Chekovich. Ivan Chekovich is a Sharks prospect. We own his rights for some time still. He is a 2017 seventh round pick, 212th overall. He is 65 games played, 29 goals, 31 assists, 60 points, 28 penalty minutes, minus 11 Q stats.
I was going to say hashtag Q stats.
Hashtag Q stats. In 5 playoff games, they went. He had 3 goals and an assist for 4 points and 2 penalty minutes, and was even. The thing with the Q playoffs you have to remember is Q playoffs are 1 versus 16.
Oh God.
2 versus 15. And so on and so on and so on. So if you are on that bottom half of the if you are on the bottom half of that bracket, you're in for some pain, generally speaking. And you know what? This is something I wish the NHL would do that. Wish.
See, I think it would be interesting to see, but at the same time, you know,
TV and
and travel and, you know, it people there would be something to complain about. Now,
there's always something to complain about. It's the NHL.
How nice on travel would a Predators Lightning series be? I mean, you know, wouldn't be too bad. But then, you know, what if you get, like, let's say the Sharks played the Devils in the first round and it went to 7?
Anything that though. It's funny, Kevin said, hey, 16 beat 1 in NCAA hockey tournament. Look, I mean, upsets still happen. I hate that, you know, the biggest gripe with the NHL playoffs is always like, oh, these two teams this is a first round matchup. This should be a conference final. Well, then, you know, go 1 through 16, and then there's just none of this anymore. Like, I feel like that would no longer be a valid complaint.
What if the NHL did a playoffs lottery where the ping pong balls fall a certain way and you have you have the matchups picked like that?
And Vince bringing up that's decent season stats for a not very good Drakkar team this year, and I agree. Drakkar, again, like I said, you know, you make it into that bottom bracket of the playoffs, and you are in a world of pain.
I would just like to say I'm glad that Vince G has a handle on the things that we don't get to keep up with, because it makes doing this much easier.
Yeah, it does. Vince G is definitely an asset to the show. Absolutely. You know what? Again, Chekovich was another guy I really liked. I thought he, you know, he fell in the draft. Him and Chmelevski both really fell in the draft. So, you know, they were great value boomer bust picks that I wish the Sharks would apply that strategy to the first round. But that's another argument for another day.
And you know, I remember that being, you know, kind of the recurring theme on our post draft show, where, you know, it was like, okay, Josh Norris, it's nice, but then, you know, every pick after that was like, oh, you know, good, like you said, good boomer bust pick, good, you know, good taking a chance on a guy. And, you know, these two names were both names that we'd heard repeated very often, you know, whether it was at the prospect scrimmage or the rookie tournament or what have you. And so, you know, even if they're even if they're going to be on the Barracuda, in 2 years and going to log some minutes there, I mean, I'm hoping that they can make some kind of impact.
Yeah. Notable omission so far, Noah Gregor, and I know Vince asked about this, and I know Zach kind of tweeted out about it last night too. It's kind of like, where's Noah Gregor's deal? Noah Gregor, obviously, here's a guy 2016 picks, so the clock's ticking for the Sharks to get this dude, under contract. If for some reason the Sharks, I firmly believe they're going to sign him. I think that when you look at all the players that signed, they all have one thing in common: they were done playing. They were done their playoff run. They could, Gambrell had to finish college because of NCAA rules, but Chmelevski, after he was eliminated, Chekovich, same thing. So I feel like for Gregor, there's definitely a contract coming for him. I think they're just going to let him finish the season out before they make him sign on the dotted line, because again, I can't see them just letting him go. He has been, for regular season so far, split between the 9 goals, 35 points, 56 PIMs. I mean, come on, you gotta love that. Plus, and in the playoffs, 4 goals, 6 assists, including a huge goal last night to help push the Victoria Royals into the second round after a really tight series with the Vancouver Giants.
Yeah, and from when the Sharks drafted him, I really enjoyed Gregor's play. I thought he impressed. Specifically, he impressed at the rookie tournament and the prospect scrimmage this past summer. I thought, he wasn't trying to do too much, but he was still, making a positive impact and doing a lot of really good things with the puck. And so I'm hoping that the Sharks can get him signed once Victoria's done playing. But there are a lot of guys coming in, and so it may be a situation where it's, like, oh, well, there's no room for me, so where am I supposed to go? But at the same time, a guy like that, I mean, if he can, build on what he's already done while wearing a teal sweater, I think the Sharks should be, trying their hardest to hold on to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike asked a really good question. What ages matter when? So for a guy who's drafted from North America, you have to sign him before 2 years after you draft him. You have to sign him before that third draft year, before that third draft. So because he was a 2016, you cannot sign him for a year. But for Noah Gregor, I mean, if you don't sign him this summer, he's gone, because it's going to be the second year after his draft. For a guy who is from Europe, it's generally a 4-year cushion. So you have extra time to sign a guy who played in Europe first, especially if you drafted him and he was playing in Europe. Even if he makes the jump to North America, you do have a little more flexibility with their rights. And a college guy, obviously, the second they sign, they're done. So you have until August 15th, the year after their senior year, to sign a college. Can't be released. He's under contract. They can waste his contract away, but you can't just release him. He's under an entry level contract. Anything? Yeah, I think I got that.
We were talking about Noah Road, right?
Yeah, Noah Road. Noah Road came. I guess he's back with the Barracuda now. See, these are things I don't understand. I don't know. Why don't I know these
things?
And
coming in on the notifications, Ivan Chekovich with his first AHL goal.
Well, look at that. See, the kids are all right.
All I'm going to say is future.
Future. Look, man, I like I like it. I mean, I think both of these guys, Chekovich is a little bit different because he would be not only an import player, but he'd be an overage player. So he could very well stick around next year, but I think if they can send him back to junior, they will. But Chmelevski's going back. But it's nice to see that they're doing stuff.
Yeah, it's
stuff.
Like I said, it's good that they're getting these reinforcements now. I mean, unfortunately, it looks like it's too little, too late. I don't think the Barracuda are going to the playoffs, but
No.
why not get them some games? Why not get them some games at the AHL level? Get them used to the speed, and we're both agreeing. Chmelevski is going to go back to junior, but Chekovic is a different story. I think. I mean, he was a overager, correct?
Chekovic would be an overager next year, I think. Yeah, I think when we drafted, I think he was a +1. He was a draft +1 when we drafted him.
Okay, so I'm going to do a quick Google search because I believe if he is 20 before the NHL season starts, then he can play with the Barracuda next year.
He could, but doesn't. I mean, I believe he's like a similar situation with where Haluka was, where he could do either or.
Okay.
But I feel like I don't know, with all the guys coming that are going to be fighting for spots on the Barracuda next season. I feel like, do you bring him over if you can play another year? If Drakkar will have him back for another year of junior, I don't know.
See, well, you also got to think about like who, what spots might be freed up. I mean, like obviously Road is not going to start the year here, and there's as endeared as he is, I feel like there's always a kind of a question mark around what John McCarthy is going to do,
right?
And then you have Mashinter, and you have a handful of other guys who really are probably should be on Allen, guys like Macaulay and guys like Sam Warning, I'm sorry, not Sam Warning. I can't think of who I'm thinking of, but there are a handful of guys who should be on Allen that are playing up in the Barracuda, and so I think it is going to be a fight for some spots, but I think there will still be a good handful of spots to be had.
I think so, yeah, and that's kind of what I think too. I mean, I'm looking really forward to kind of seeing how things shake out and who moves on and who goes up. Who's gonna? Because I still think there's a couple of spots that might even be available in the Sharks depending on what they do in free agency. Yeah, it's a mess, right? It's a mess with the Barracuda right now. I mean, yeah, they've got some guys that are coming over and playing some games to get experience, but the season was pretty bad disaster for them, which is unfortunate considering the goaltending they got from Bibo this year.
Yeah, I almost wonder if there might be, we've talked about the wealth of forwards the Barracuda will have coming in. I almost wonder if there might be a deal to be had, for a defensive prospect for the Barracuda.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule that out either. Let's what do I have here? I have something. I don't know what I was going to talk about. We got to talk a little bit about last night's game, I think, because not to pick it apart. I mean, that's not what we do. And I want to get this game ahead, but obviously Dylan Gambrell played last night. Not very much. I think he had one shift at the beginning of the third, and had a few, played I think less than 10 minutes overall. But what did you think of his game, like for his first little sniff of NHL action?
I thought he did really well. There was a lot was talked about, about how he moved and how good he was, along the wall with the puck. And, I think we saw a lot of what he was good at. I think we saw it on display. And there was one particular thing I saw, Dallas was coming back on an odd man rush and, Gambrell gave Burns, the push on the back to get him to catch up to, I want to say it was Jamie Benn who was going the other way with the puck. And it's like, it's such a small detail, but it's a very aware defensive awareness move, and a very, not veteran move, but definitely not something that I think a rookie. Right. And so, to see him have the awareness of doing that, I think shows, the type of player he is, where he's kind of aware of what's going on both offensively and defensively. And I hope he gets more games. I know there's, a lot to be said about, Eric Fair and Barclay Goodrow and, even Hansen and Ward and stuff like that.
I mean, Goodrow to be back would have to be a deep playoff run for us to see Barclay Goodrow again this year, though.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. But I liked what I saw from Gambrell. So I hope he sticks in the lineup.
Yeah. I thought his game was. I thought he played a good game. You know, obviously there was definitely some nerves there. It's hard to come in when to come in like this in a game so late in the season. Obviously you're practicing, but I mean, it's not exactly a lot of time to learn the system. So I know there's a few comments about how he looked a little lost in the defensive zone at a couple of times. And I think that's just not knowing the system. Right. But I loved, the one thing that everyone always says about Gambrell is his vision. And I thought his vision was super on display yesterday. I was really happy. I thought he looked, he made some really smart plays. If Ward could have got him that puck, I mean, he would have just had that easy tap in goal. And he won. He took one half his draws that he took. Kevin Gaudreau mangled his finger and had surgery on it, is what Kevin, he was back there. Cornash, no. I don't know. Oh, I lost Jerk. Now I'm screwed. So I think it's gonna be Cornash. Because I think that the Sharks were really high on Cornash, and I think that was part of the reason that they let Troy Grosnick go, because I think they wanted to have him come over for that spot. Am I robotic? Don't tell me I'm robotic too. No. Oh man, this show's gonna be a gong show. I'll play it later. I shouldn't be. I mean, all my connections are good. I don't know. Do I sound like a robot now? Oh, there's Jerk.
Sorry, I wanted to see if resetting my Hangout would help correct things.
Fair enough. Apparently I sound robotic. Do I sound robotic to you?
There were a couple instances where we had a little bit of lag, but I thought it's been good for the last couple minutes.
Okay. That is good. This is just payback for letting us use TSN videos. Hey, we get it far worse than you guys do, let me tell you.
Yeah. You guys, Canadians have to deal with Don Cherry.
Not only that, but the amount of videos that you can't watch of ours compared to we can't watch of yours, it's super slanted in your favor. Let me just put it that way. Okay, so I was gonna say I think Cornash is coming over next season to back up Bebo. But yeah, I think overall I thought that Gambrell's game was good. Something that I didn't realize, because again I've been a little bit out of the loop, but I didn't realize Ryan was healthy, and that Paul Martin continues to be in the lineup over Joakim Ryan. Now, this doesn't surprise me because of who our coach is, but what the hell?
Yeah, I didn't know Joakim Ryan was healthy either. I thought he was still hurt.
Right. I just assumed, I'm like, well, Paul Martin's playing. Ryan's got to be still hurt, because who would be such an idiot to put, Joakim Ryan in the press box and let Paul Martin continue to play once Joakim Ryan's healthy?
Yeah, I certainly hope that guy wouldn't be on the Sharks' payroll.
Apparently the answer to that question is not Melker Karlsson. It's actually PDB.
Yeah, we're going to play Melker with Burns. I don't know, especially because there was one instance last night, and then there was another time during the Vegas game where, Paul Martin's lack of foot speed and I guess lack of awareness as to what was going on really, cost the Sharks. And especially in Vegas, the Burns-Martin pairing was god awful. And then, to come back against the Dallas Stars yesterday with the same deployment, it's like, what are you doing? And this is what kind of irks me is, it's not like Joakim Ryan is, he's got a couple games and he's still trying to figure it out. Like, he very much established himself as an NHLer. I mean, he's played, 50 games?
Yeah, give or take. Reasonable. Like, I mean, he was a regular in the line. I mean, he's been a regular on that pair. That pair's been a thing for, most of the season, except for when they decided that Dylan and Burns should be a thing, and also bad coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to give Peter DeBoer the benefit of the doubt, just because, you know, he is the one who's getting paid to be a coach, not us. But at the same time,
I don't
what is he doing?
understand. Yeah, I don't understand because I think Joachim Ryan's look. I'm not saying that Paul Martin costed us games. Like, I think that for the most part, from what I've seen, and I didn't see the whole Vegas game. And I'll, you know, full disclosure, I did not see that whole Vegas game, but I didn't really have an issue with Paul Martin being in the lineup. Like he was fine, but I don't. It just bothers me though that because I think Joachim Ryan has been so impressive that, and again, you know, look at Joachim Ryan's not putting up the points, but he's done good things with him, you know, with Burns on his pair, and it's not an easy guy to pair with, you know, and and I'm not, you know, I can't have it both ways. I can't say, well, you know, maybe Burns just needs to learn how to play regardless of who he's paired with, but I at the same time, like, I'm rambling, but I like what Joachim Ryan's done, and I feel like Joachim Ryan's earned that spot.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's, you know, there are times where he's been the best defenseman, you know, on the team, and I think he's earned the right to play on a regular basis. And, you know, I don't understand what has changed, because, you know, you think about for how long Paul Martin was healthy and Peter DeBoer just wasn't playing him. And then there's the whole thing where, you know, he's going to get traded and he was put on waivers. And then now, you know, Paul Martin's, you know, right back in the thick of things. And, you know, to echo Kevin, you know, Paul Martin, he was fine last night. Yes, but.
Oh, right. I'm not looking.
But, you know, Joachim Ryan's a better option. And
I agree.
It makes me wonder what has happened. I mean, you know, we could be really extreme and say, oh, you know, maybe Joachim Ryan opened his car door into DeBoer's car, you know, but I don't have an explanation. Like, I don't know why all of a sudden Paul Martin is suddenly in the good graces when he was, you know, on the outside looking in for so long. And I don't get it.
Right. And I don't feel like, again, I don't feel like I'm not, this isn't a knock on Paul Martin. I don't think Paul Martin's been bad. I just feel like it's, you know, but I still feel like Joachim Ryan's been better. You know, but again, you know, Paul Martin, hey, look he's still on the books for another year. So maybe, you know, maybe there's just that.
Maybe they're just playing him so other teams can see him.
Or, you know, they've just realized that they don't want to pay him $4 million to play in the AHL again next year. I don't know.
See, but this is what I don't understand is, like, you know, you have to pay him anyways.
Right.
And, you know, the Sharks organization, you know, they're one of the better off teams financially in the league. Yeah. You know, the Sharks can afford to stomach it.
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't know. I mean, it's a number of just weird coaching things that Peter DeBoer has done that has kind of just irked me a little lately. Like yesterday, I'm surprised when things really started going off the rails, he didn't call a timeout. There was no stupid, like, he didn't call for a review that didn't go his way, right? Like, I don't recall there being any reviews yesterday. I could be wrong.
No, I don't believe there was.
Right. So, like, I was surprised that he didn't call a timeout when things really started going off, especially, like, when they get that third goal. Like, why don't you call a timeout? And there was a conversation on Twitter and about this, and it was interesting to me because it's like, obviously, you can do a lot of things on a timeout, right? Like, you can talk strategy. You could just yell and scream, and, you know, you don't really see that a lot in the NHL anymore. But the one thing, like, you just do something. You know, there's this one game I remember, and this was back when Babcock was still coaching the Wings, and I think they were on the end of their heyday. Like, they still had a lot of their guys, and the Wings, like, they get a bunch of goals scored on them, and they just look stupid and disinterested. And Babcock calls a timeout. He doesn't say anything. No one on the bench says a word. They just all sit there and feel bad, I guess, for seconds, right? And then they went back out and they win the game. But
yeah, and sometimes that's all it takes.
Right. And even though nothing happened in that timeout, they didn't do anything. It was enough to get them reset.
Yeah, exactly. And I would have liked to see that from DeBoer. And I was going to say too, even if you just call the timeout and you just say, think about how we're playing, and then
Right.
leave it at that. Like, you gotta, get it in their mind.
Yeah, that to me was the most frustrating part of last night. Was I just feel like, yeah, okay, the bench is going to get shortened. Like, I'm not saying, oh man, they should have just thrown Gambrell out there until his legs fell off. No, I mean, obviously that's not the answer, but the fact that they did nothing, they just kind of just let it roll. You had one shot on goal through the entire third period. I know we're not supposed to be the podcast talks about the game, but how does this happen? How does this happen? And Peter DeBoer does nothing.
Especially because there are so many other instances where he should do nothing and he does, everything.
Everything, right. And in this situation, he's like, whatever. Like, you're still playing for home ice. Like, yeah, you've clinched the playoffs, but you're still playing for home ice. Do you want to play the Kings without home ice? Do you want to play the Ducks without home ice?
No, hell no. That. And, Kevin says they should have given Gambrell more than one shift. Yeah, I agree with Kevin. They should have given Gambrell more time. It's, the whole point in playing him was to see what he can do, and then you're going to bench him, like.
Right, and this kind of gets into the questions, right? Like, one of the questions was and this was from, I believe it was from Cheryl, was, should recently signed rookies worry about their chances and opportunities under Peter DeBoer? Yeah, obviously, I think that there's obviously a preference towards vets. It's always been there. I mean, Joachim Ryan's not playing. Why? Because Paul Martin's a vet.
Yeah, and Yannick Hansen is a vet, but Joel Ward is an older vet, and
right.
And I would be playing, like, as much as everybody kind of likes to rip on Yannick Hansen, for only having 2 goals this year. Like, I would rather play Hansen over Ward, and I think Hansen, Gambrell, Sorensen would have been a fun line to watch.
Would have been.
And then instead, like you said, if Ward get the puck to Gambrell, he would have had a tap in.
Yeah, and look at, I mean, that players not through. But I think the thing is with Gambrell too, and I think this deserves to be pointed out, is with Gambrell. I mean, this was a game to burn his entry level. Like, I don't think there's a plan for him to see any more ice. This was just a burn an ELC because we brought you over and you skipped your senior season to come over game. Like, I don't think Gambrell was in the long term. Like, he's not in the playoff plans. I can't see Gambrell drawing back into the lineup unless the injuries continue to pile up. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, and the thing is, once Eric Fair comes back, Gambrell's spot is automatically going back to Fair.
Right. And Vince talking to Kevin in the chat again. The chat's great. Gambrell is under 30 years old, plays a responsible 200-foot game. That's a recipe for a third period benching. So true. So true.
Yep. Well, and what if things get desperate and let's say what if DeBoer put out a line of like Donskoy? What if he put Gambrell with Donskoy and Timo Meier, and then Gambrell scored? You know what would happen on the next shift? Melker Karlsson would be in Gambrell's place.
Probably. Melker Karlsson is the answer to everything for Peter DeBoer, though. That is the answer to every question. Doesn't matter what question you ask.
Yeah,
Melker Karlsson is the answer.
Like, I don't know, like, if the Sharks were as bad as the Detroit Red Wings are, I would bet my house that Melker Karlsson would have a letter on his sweater.
That's amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I just, like, I feel like with Gambrell specifically, though, in this case, I don't think he's getting, I don't think the plan was ever for him to come over and be like this regular guy, like I think some of the other players have. Because look at, I mean, the Sharks are in a good spot roster wise. As soon as some people get healthy, I think they'll be in a better spot. But I mean, they're in a good spot. They don't really, there's not a guy there that I'm saying, okay, Gambrell should be playing over X or Y. Like, if this team is healthy, they should they should be. It's fine that Gambrell's not in the lineup, in my opinion. I think that he could. Again, I'm very high on this kid. I think he can play in the NHL, and I think he's going to have a very good camp next year. And he's gonna make things interesting. But I think at this juncture in the season, we got to look at the Gambrell game for what it was, and that was to burn a year of his entry-level contract. And that's just my opinion. If people see it as more than that, I mean, that they're definitely entitled to that opinion as well.
Yeah, and I'm almost certain that's what it is too, because it's a big step to forego your senior year, especially in today's climate when education is really important on having a future. Let's say being a pro athlete doesn't work out.
For sure.
And so to do that, I mean, it's a big step, it's a big commitment, and I would like to see the Sharks, give him a better chance, than just benching him in the third. But at the same time, like you said, I think he's going to come in, he's going to have a good camp, he's going to have a legitimate chance to, make some noise in in training camp. And I can tell you for certain there are at least 3 players on the current Sharks roster who will not be back next year.
Exactly.
So he's going to have as many chances. And, it kind of sucks that the Barracuda aren't doing well this year, because if the Barracuda were going to the playoffs again,
he'd already
be there. He would be on the top line, and he'd be on the top line with probably Balsers, and they would, be netting goals.
Yep. Oh, and that's the thing. I mean, and if Saley doesn't make the Sharks next year out of camp, Barracuda title next year, when you're talking in Gambrell, you're talking, Chartier, and who's your third line center? Like, it's not exactly a bad situation down the middle. And there's going to be help on the wings. You're going to have Balsers. You're going to have, Joachim Blickfeld could be on one of those wings next year. Most definitely. I mean, he signed an entry-level contract way back in December.
Yep.
You have Hargo.
You have I'm scrolling through the chat right now for Halbigawatz.
Yes, Halbigawatz coming. I mean, it's gonna be super interesting. Again, the Barracuda are going to be a super exciting team next year. I think there's going to be a lot of talent down there that if the guys don't make the jump to the NHL, and it's fine if they don't. Look at if the Sharks free agent plans go their way, and things go the super way everyone wants them to go, then I'm not so worried about which kids are coming up, because I think they're going to be in a really good place. But if it doesn't, it's nice to know that there's some kids down there that can come in and at least keep the Sharks on their current cruise.
Yeah, and I think the Arizona Coyotes will tell you that you can never have enough young players who are on the cusp.
That are on the cusp.
And this is the thing is, it's easy to look at a guy and just say, oh, if he's never going to be a top 6 player in the NHL, and, have that be the end of it. But, Joe Pavelski wasn't supposed to be a top 6 player in the NHL.
Exactly. I mean, you never know what's going to happen with these kids. You don't you don't know. Like, there's kids that get drafted in the first round and never do anything. And then there's guys like Joe Pavelski drafted in the 7th round. Turns out, I mean, that shouldn't be your primary philosophy for drafting. It shouldn't be like, okay, well, this guy's going to be Joe Pavelski, so we'll draft him in the 7th and everything will be good. I mean, that's not the way you want to draft. I mean, you get lucky when you get a Pavelski. I think sometimes the Sharks do that a little too much, though, where they go boom bust in the late rounds.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's a conversation. Another question we had, this comes from David. The Nashville, Florida game. I don't know if you saw this goal in question. Did you think the Toronto made the right call in their first week of quote unquote consistency?
I will be honest, I didn't see the goal in question, but if you want to talk about it first, I can watch it.
Yeah, I thought they made the right call. Did they call it a goal or did they call it no goal? I want to say they called it no goal, and that was the wrong call. But I do want to say something on this line of consistency. I didn't like the call. But so far of the calls I've seen, there was a call tonight in the St. Louis Chicago game, which I agreed with.
Mm-hmm.
I agreed with the call in the Sharks game. That was the first review. Like I was totally fine with it. The problem is this word consistency that's coming in now. And I think the problem is we don't have a baseline set for consistency now. You can't look at goals that were called earlier in the season or not called and then look at the goals now and say, well, that's not consistent with that. That's the whole point. I think that with the NHL, it's going to take a while to set the new baseline for consistency because look at you got a bunch of people that used to make the call and that group's been completely reduced now to a handful of guys, 5 guys, 3 at any given night from what I understand. And it's going to take time. You can't compare goals to and say, well, this isn't consistent with what happened before, because that's the whole reason they changed the system to do this. So I feel like to get consistency, to see consistency, we need longer than a week of we need longer than a week of sample size to work with. And I understand the frustration behind it and what's goaltender interference and what's not goaltender interference, but I just feel like it's too soon to start whining about how consistent it is when we've had a handful of calls go to Toronto.
Yeah, exactly. And I just watched the goal right now. I think it should have been a goal. You know,
should have been a goal.
Now there is an argument to be made. You do have Victor Arvidsson, give Luongo's pad a little bit of a shove with the stick, but I here's my whole thinking is, yes, you could argue that Arvidsson, quote unquote, slashing Luongo's pad with a stick impeded Luongo's ability to get to where the puck was, but
I don't like the call.
And I don't either, because here's the thing. Luongo evidently did not know where the puck is. So how can you be impeded from going somewhere if you don't know where you're going?
Exactly. And that's why I don't like it. I like, that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, there's still going to be calls we don't like. Like, I don't think anyone was going to, expected that was going to be this perfect thing where everyone was going to agree with all the calls. One, people aren't going to agree with calls when their team's on the wrong end of it, generally speaking. The fan, the people, I'm not saying this in a bad way. Like, I try to look at things a lot more objectively than the common fan. I don't just fan out and be like, well, everything's awesome and everything's great. And, when you call this penalty, you're doing it to screw my team. But I think from just the average fan, they just want the call to go their way. It doesn't matter how right or wrong it is. They just want the call.
Yeah, and that's kind of where this problem comes to is, let's say last night, if Jones, if Jones were to get tapped on the pads, I think there would be a contingent of people who would say, well, that's goalie interference, but if somebody had run over Kari Lehtinen,
right?
I mean, they would have, said, oh, well, he got shoved into him or
flopped.
Yeah, it's
right. I mean, there's the fan element of it, right? And I think that is where things are going to get dicey a little bit. Another question from Cheryl. Predictions on the Sharks' chance in the playoffs, all healthy with no Jumbo, which I think is interesting because I think Jumbo's going to play. And whether he's healthy or not, I think he's going to play.
I mean, unless they've spent the last 3 months crafting a bionic leg, I don't think he's going to play. Sharks in the playoffs. Now, they're playing either LA or Anaheim. That's been established. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
I have no problem or no issues with the Sharks' ability to beat either of those teams. The Sharks are faster. The Sharks have the ability to, rile them up enough into stupid penalties.
Oh yeah, especially with a healthy Kane, like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially. I mean, don't get me wrong. As much as I like Ryan Getzlaf, you throw a legal body check and he's going to start swinging his stick.
Yeah.
And so I have no worries about the Sharks beating either of those teams. But second round and beyond, it's anybody's guess. Say they play Vegas. Vegas could fizzle out. Or, say they play Colorado or, Minnesota or even the LA Kings or Anaheim, whoever it is, into the first round. they could fizzle out and the Sharks could handle them.
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen many times in the playoffs where, really good teams, especially last year, Minnesota was the best team in the Central Division,
Yep.
and they got bounced hardcore by the Blues. And then you have now that you have the Nashville Predators, who were the last team to make it last year, and they went all the way to the Stanley Cup final in a pretty dominating fashion, if you ask me. So
Yeah.
playoffs are a totally different animal. Guys and teams heat up and they cool down. And so, like I said, first round, not even worried. But once we get to the second round, I think is when you have to start to be concerned.
Yeah, I completely agree. I like this team for at least a round of hockey because I think no matter who they play in the first round, they are talented enough, they're good enough, and if they're healthy enough, then they should win. The Ducks are banged up, so obviously that would be, that's a matchup I'm not scared of. And I'm don't get me wrong, I think the Kings could be scary in the first round. The thing that I don't like about either of these teams is they're heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't take care of business quickly in either of those series, the longer that series go, the more beat up you're leaving. And going into the second round, like if you go into a 6-7 game series with the Kings or Ducks, the longer those series go, I'm not sure I like their second round prospects, depending on again who they play. But the longer that first round series goes with either of those teams, the less I like that second round matchup.
Yeah, I agree. And especially like you said with Anaheim and LA, they're both very physical teams. And if you go back to that first round series against LA 2 years ago, I think a huge reason why the Sharks were able to handle the Kings as quickly as they did is because your third line was Melker Karlsson, Patrick Marleau, and I don't even remember who Melker or
Matt Nieto.
Matt Nieto. Yeah, Matt Nieto. Which three guys who very good on their feet in terms of speed and in terms of just their smoothness on the ice in general. Both or all three of them, excuse me, really good puck possession guys. And as sad as I am to say it, Vincent Lecavalier was not enough to stop that third line.
No.
But
No.
I think that was paramount too, because it allowed the Sharks to get on the Kings quick and to, handle their business as soon as they possibly could. And I think whether it's Anaheim or LA, even though LA has struggled lately and Anaheim, like you said, is banged up, with no Cam Feller, no John Gibson, I still think the Sharks are going to have to play that same kind of hockey where, they get a good mixture of speed and puck possession on every line, and they get to their opponent as quick as they can. Because, like you said, if it goes 6 or 7 games, there's no telling what could happen, especially too, let's say the Sharks are up in the series and it gets to a 6th game or a 7th game, what's to stop somebody on the Ducks or the Kings from being overly aggressive because they're trying to win and they take somebody out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that the Sharks have had so many injury problems this year. Like, it's amazing what the Sharks have done in spite of their injury issues this year. I mean, I think that's the bottom line, and that's what kind of gives me hope, especially in the first round, where I feel like either way they're gonna take care of business. They could get lucky in the second round and draw Colorado. I think they could beat a Colorado, but getting out of the conference, man. I mean, you're talking getting past probably Nashville. I don't like the Sharks in either series. I think both teams, obviously their health is issue on their sides, but I think especially Nashville scares the hell out of me.
And Nashville only got better. I mean, they bring in Tolvanen, they bring Mike Fisher back, and Nashville is just rolling in all facets of the game.
Yeah, I mean, you take the opponents as they come. I think we're gonna have a happy first round anyway. And you know what, for this team, for where we thought they would be versus where they are, I don't know if we can really complain about that.
No, I mean, and we, both of us and Zach said it on the season preview show. Like if there is a small part of us that would be surprised if the Sharks made the playoffs.
Right, and we are obviously all idiots. We also I think we all thought Edmonton was going to be awesome. So again, idiots even more.
We
We
all
all thought
said,
Vegas was going to suck.
yeah,
Idiots again.
we all said Kevin LeBanc should start with the Barracuda, and
Oh man, we're dumb.
yeah, and now he's tops on the team in assists.
Yeah, podcast over. We're done.
Yep. Sorry, guys, we've done you a disservice.
Oh man. Couple of just quick notes here, and then we'll get you on your merry way. Yeah, Flames. I was really high on the Flames, man.
Flames need a goalie.
On the Flames. Yeah, Flames need a goalie.
They need a goalie, and they need more offense from their bottom six.
Yes. A couple of things quick. I set up a league for the NHL bracket challenge that they do on NHL.com. It's called Teal Tinted Brackets. So if you happen to want to do brackets and nothing, so everyone can join. Calgary should sign Scott Foster. It's true. Other than that, friend of the show, Kirkland Leichhardt, was the MJHL Player of the Week, and he led the Verdun Oil Caps to the Turnbull Finals. So congratulations to him, and we hope he does well in the Turnbull Finals. Other than that, Jerk, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. All right, close to the end of the season, which means we're getting close to the Pittsburgh Penguins three-peat.
Oh man, terrible.
No, I had to do that. I had to do that for Jessica, providing we haven't scared her away.
Yeah, Vince says put your foreseen skills to the test.
You know what? I've been banking these points all year, and I think I know what I'm going to spend them all on.
Nice.
I think, I don't know. I'm stuck between the Razor Scooter and the giant teddy bear.
Oh, Razor Scooter all the way.
Yeah, may have to go with that one. But in terms of hockey, you can follow me on Twitter at hockey_jerk, where you will not see, I knew I would get a rise out of Jessica, where you will see that I'm not a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, despite what the very many haters will tell you. Sharks are rolling, or were rolling, I should say. Now they're falling. But even then, I still think, like we said, Vince G.
Yeah. Oh man, if you didn't love Jerk at his Badker, you don't deserve to love him at his Malkin. It's true.
It's very true. Which, just in case nobody saw my tweet last night, the Sharks do mystery pucks, and they, depending on what's going on, I guess, themes or whatever, they do anywhere from, I think, 3 to, I want to say 4 off, like 5 or 6. And I believe there's 5 themes this year. 4 of them, I got Mikhail Bodker. And that's not me trying to be funny. That's not some kind of predetermined whatever. Like, that's true, legitimate. If I was at the game, I grabbed a puck, or, I had a friend grab a puck for me if I wasn't there. And Bodker 4 times out of 5.
Wow.
So process that one. And you know what? As much as I love Mikhail Bodker, I don't need 5 pucks autographed by him. So if brackets are your thing and you score the most points, maybe one of those will end up in your mailbox.
Ooh, I like it. All right, so remember, look, when you go into the NHL Bracket Challenge, look up Teal Tinted Brackets. I am Ian Reed. You can find me at Ian Blogs Hockey on the Twitter machine. If you enjoy the show, please tell 2 friends. Obviously, I think probably the next time we talk, we're probably doing playoff predictions, which is going to be fun. It's always fun.
Playoffs,
yeah. Maybe we can show off our brackets on air. We'll see. Yeah, so definitely, we'll probably be, the next time we talk, we'll probably be doing playoff predictions. So look forward to that. It's, everyone thinks the season's winding down, but for us, it's just starting. Because obviously, this podcast, well known for, being on long after the lights have gone out in San Jose. We will be with you till the end of the playoffs. We will be with you at the draft. We will be with you in free agency, and we'll be with you when it's August 15th and we need to know where the next, where the next college guy is going to go. And, and we'll get excited when he scores 20 points the next year.
Looking at you, Jimmy VC.
Yeah. So definitely, I mean, for us, like I said, as things wind down, we're just getting started. We'll be with you through all the cool stuff that happens beyond when the Sharks are done playing. Hopefully that includes a silver chalice, but if it doesn't, we're still around. Other than that, subscribe, tell friends, be around. Thanks for all the kind words that the podcast gets. Obviously, makes it way more fun to do. And other than that, see you sometime next week for a division or a playoff preview. Bye-bye.